Hi all, it's Simon here, and I gotta admit it's been a while. Just a quick update for the last 6 months of 7th edition. I did a bunch of tournaments, but I found there wasn't a lot of interest in people actually really seeing anything about 7th at near the end there. Not to mention, no one really wants to see Nick Standing beat me, but it's all good. Anyway, 8th edition has dropped, and I've been loving it. I've played tons and tons of games. I've done a few minor tournaments, which I didn't record, but the first major tournament in Australia, and also that I've been to, was the Battle in the Bush down in Orange. I took my family down, long car trip. I think it was like 13 hours both ways. With 4 kids in the car, that's always a fun thing. Got sick, that's why I sound a little different, but I took my ATC list, so that's the Australian Team Championships. So what I took in this tournament that you're going to watch in a moment, I'm also going to be playing for Queensland in a few weeks' time, so that will be up probably in about 3 weeks. That should be fun. And also a little quick update, I'm the current Australian team captain for ETC. And in a few weeks, maybe a few months' time, like before Christmas, I will be putting the call out for people who are kind of interested in forming a team. So we didn't go this year, which was in Spain, but next year it is in Croatia, and definitely interested to go there, even if I'm just by myself and murking with a whole bunch of Swedish guys.
Alrighty, Battle in the Bush, round 1. So the first Australian major. I'm versing a new player called Chris. He's just deploying his scouts, and this is the Dark Angels list, yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, Chris. So where are you from?
Orange.
Oh, you're actually from Orange. Excellent. All right. So we got my Harlequin / Ynarri dudes, all the Void Weavers, and a bunch of characters. And Chris has got some Razorbacks, a bunch of characters back there, Land Raider, and everything's on the board now?
Yep.
Excellent. Alrighty.
So just before we get into the game, I just want to quickly go through my list, just because it's maybe a little bit weird. People don't necessarily see a lot of Harlequins on the table, or as their opponents, and so I'll just quickly go through the list concept. One of the things that I wanted to make sure, especially in learning 8th in tournaments, is to kind of economize my my memory, I guess. So what I'm trying to explain here is 8th is great, and one of the key changes in 8th is everything's got their own stat line, and things move in different speeds. 7 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, 16, all that type of stuff. And I've been playing lots and lots of different, my collection's huge, so I've got tons of different things I've been playing around with, but I've noticed that a lot of my games are running really long, not in tournaments, just at home, just because I'm looking at my book and trying to remember stats and all that type of stuff. And one of the key things that I wanted to do when I go to tournaments is I don't want, especially from my point of view, for me to be the slow player. So I kind of narrowed it down to, it's a little bit spammy, but it helps me speed up the game and focus on the tactics. So my first few tournaments that I played in, and this one especially, it's all about focusing on the tricks and the tactics, not remembering stats. That's why I've just gone everything Harlequins and a few Ynarri characters, which means everything in my army is 4+ and vulnerable. All the vehicles are -1 to hit. And all the characters are characters. And that's pretty much it. So anything that's a vehicle is moving 16 inches, everything that's a character is moving 8. Alright, so this is the first tournament that I've played in with the ITC mission pack. So normally the ITC tournaments that I've played in before use like the ATC kind of mission, triple mission, things like that. So I got Chris to kind of take me through the exact objective placement thing, because I didn't have a lot of experience prior to going into this tournament about kind of the pre-setup and the scoring of objectives. I think I did like 2 practice games for ITC missions, and I was definitely doing the objective placement wrong. So thank you very much, Chris, for taking me through all that. Anyway, he deployed his scouts really close up to objective 2, and it really allowed me to get early charges, especially because I seized. I'm pretty sure I seized. Anyway, one of the cool things that you can do with Harlequins is this kind of, I'll call it like a slingshot, which is you move 16 inches up, you cast the Twilight Pathways on the boat with all the characters in it, and you move another 16 inches, and then you can shoot your melter guns and things like that. A lot of people didn't expect it. Pretty much no one expects it, and it just means that my little clown car full of 4 melter guns, or not melter guns, 4 melter pistols, can get right up in your face turn 1, and that boat can also charge as well, which is hilarious. You'll see in coming games where I'll go, in essence, 32 inches, shoot with melter guns, and then charge with that same boat. And then when they kill the boat, I got a whole bunch of characters jumping out, depending on their placement, and the Yukon as well, because when they kill the boat, the Yukon pops up. Lots of little tricks. I just really like it. The Void Weavers do what the Void Weavers do. They're 108 points or 109 points, whatever it is. That are just hard to kill, kind of protectors of my characters. They've got good firepower, but they're not Storm Raven or any. They're not big, lots of damage type guns. Especially because their quasi las cannons are only hitting on 4s, and you're generally moving. They're like 24 inches, generally moving, so you're hitting on 4s. They're not doing the damage, but they're just annoying to deal with. And they got fly, which is great. And they can charge, and they're hitting on 3s in combat with 3 attacks, strength 5. These are pretty cool things. That's pretty much it. It's a simple list that lets you do a bunch of tricks with, as they say, the Ynarri bullshit. So that's the list concept, and sorry about the angle of the camera, but that's pretty much what I'm focusing. So every game I'm just focusing on what's the mission, where do I need to be, where do I need to pressure, and where do I need to get my characters so that 1 or 2 turns where I can do my Ynarri bullshit, it matters. So like right here, this is a perfect example of where it works. So I do eventually kill that Land Raider, and he charges in with a Zariel, kills what's it called, not the Yukon, your Vrain. So about to kill your Vrain really easily for a Zariel. Yep, absolutely. But that one death, you'll see in a moment, that one death triggers a Soul Burst reaction where I kill 5 units or 4 units. It's insane. So Yukon kills, Soul Burst kills the thing that he was punching with, piles in another 3, and then hit that thing that he killed, triggered on a, what's it called, the Troop Master, which killed the unit, which then triggered another thing, and eventually everything died, and then I still had my swings. So he charged with a whole bunch of things, killed 1, I then killed, like 4 things in return, so then his charges couldn't hit me anymore, and then I still had my attacks. So yeah, this is a type of like a chain reaction, where it's just one thing happens and then it just goes boom, 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 boom. And this is what I'm trying to set up. And it takes a while, it takes good positioning and things like that. So it's not a guaranteed point-and-click army. I really have to think about what I'm trying to achieve a turn or 2 turns in a head, while still trying to win the mission, and setting up kind of these opportunities for this chain reaction of death, in essence.
Alright, so we just finished round 1, and these guys are still going. Had a good results. Lots of games still going, which is great. And we've got only 20 minutes to go. The terrain at this tournament is really good. For an 8th tournament, I haven't been to that many yet. Look at this crate. It is very good terrain. Lots of line of sight blocking. I mean, this is thematic, but it's going to be painful for the terrain. We've got a big Necron pylon, which is cool. I've heard heard there's 2 Titans somewhere. How have you found this table? I just want to play with this big thing.
I hate it. Actually, it's not too bad for me. My army is just one deep strike. It's so such a low passing card.
So lots of Forge World here.
Like they should, even if you use Gillis reroll ones,
Lots of planes. There's a Magnus over there in the corner.
there is 3 wounds and then you get 3. You've got +1 for cover. Keep going.
Mechanicus and Gillen. And lots of Super Chickens. See some of the tables. I'm liking it. Alright, game 2 versus Bailey. And then you got, where are you from?
Orange.
Oh, you're actually from Orange. Second guy from Orange I'm playing. Excellent. And we're playing lots of Riptides, because Riptides.
Yates. Yates.
Someone yelling. And lots of Harlequins. This should be interesting. Lots of line of sight blocking, which is always a good thing.
So game 2, versing Bailey. He got a bye in round 1. That's why he's versing me. He was saying that I don't know why I'm playing up the top tables here. Anyway, he was a great opponent. He was playing an interesting, all Riptide list with 1 commander. But it didn't have any marker lights, which was going to be a bit of a pain for him versus my full, army-wide neg 1 to hit. And I think I verse Tau again later on. Yeah, I do. And once you get marker lights in them, they become a bit more painful to deal with. The Yavara, this Yavara thing, that is scary as hell, and I will be paying mad respect, so to speak, to it in the future. I think Bailey gave me first turn, or I can't remember exactly how I got first turn. I definitely didn't pick it. He must have given it to me. I just sat in the building, and that was my quickest turn 1 ever. His turn 1, he drops in, pushes up. He shouldn't have dropped in his commander that early. That was one little mistake. But I don't think it would have mattered how this game ended. He kind of pushed up a little bit, and that's all I needed. I just needed him, anything kind of midfield, especially because it was his Yavara that was the scariest thing in his army. And then I could just jump out, attack in essence, with smites, with a whole bunch of quasi-las cannons and a whole bunch of other kind of mortal wound generation things. I definitely killed it. And quite handily, and I also slingshot one of my Void Weavers up to kind of contest his objective 5, because it's all model based, his objective, so I was just kind of preventing him from scoring a few things. But that was it. Like once I killed this backfield threat, which is the commander and the Yavara, I knew I was going to be taking damage, but I was just banking on the neg 1 to hit. And him having to move, because some of the most of the objectives are kind of midfield and towards my back. I'm holding 3 or 4 of the objectives. He has to eventually come to me, which means he has to move those heavy weapons, and then he's hitting on 6s. I just went, nah, stuff it. Kill the Yavara. I'm now just going to target 1 Riptide at a time until I kill them all. And that's pretty much what happened. You can't be able to teleport around is always a great thing. And that was the game.
Alright, I'm round 3, I'm versing Jack. Hey, Jack. And he's got 4 knights. And they're the Chaos variety. And I've just deployed my Harlequins in this back. We're playing Vanguard kill points. Alright.
Alrighty, so versing Jack, one of the guys on the New South Wales team. The knight, so he got first turn. And the knights are definitely, especially the chaos ones, are a little bit scarier than the imperial ones, just because they can have double guns, and double guns are always more scary than close combat weapons or anything like that. And their double guns, they get the big Gatling cannons and everything. Oh, shenanigans. Anyway, my main focus here, well, I just said to myself, look, the way you deal with knights and any of these, you know, big ass things is don't spread wounds. Just focus on one, kill it, and then move on to the next one. Try and prevent charges and things like that. You'll see in this game, and I was reasonably good at doing this, where I would prevent movement, prevent charges and things like that. This table was great because knights can't go through the ruins, and so there's kind of this one right in the middle below the statue that was preventing movement straight down, and then there's another one in his deployment zone preventing movement to the right. So other than a little bit of line of sight blocking, it's mainly about movement prevention, movement blocking, and pretty much a lot of 40k and my army specifically is about focusing on the movement. And I talked a little about this in the kind of intro where the list creation bit is focusing on the tactics, focusing on the movement, and less so on remembering stats and, you know, just doing a shit ton of damage and stuff like that. So just because of where we're rolling dice, some of the what's it called, the ruins on the bottom top right hand side we move just so we can roll dice, but then we put them back so you can see what's kind of happening. I'm kind of surrounding, just, you know, peppering and doing maelstroms with the left hand side Void Weavers, and on the right hand side, where, you know, around his army, I'm literally just blocking movement, focusing on one, trying to get my damage in there without getting as much back. I sacrifice pretty much one Void Weaver a turn to make it so his Warlord Knight, which is right in the center, can't move, or can't be at like full effect in terms of combat. And same thing here, you know, I'm just using movement and other type of blocking shenanigans so that I'm preventing an insane amount of damage. Like I'm preventing damage through movement. That's probably the best way to describe it. In my head, it's probably clearer, but I'm not thinking 100% right now. I'm still sick, and but that's pretty much the concept. It's movement. I'll stop talking about that. This I screw myself over in this turn because I split my attacks and my damage to both of the knights, and they're both at, like, you know, 5 or 6 wounds each. When I could have definitely killed one and not the other one, and had a, you know, just dealt with one. So even though I said, you know, just kill, what's it called? Just kill one knight at a time and don't do that. I did do it in that turn, and it did screw me a little bit because there was more damage than needed back at my army. But because of teleporting, Yukon craziness and soul burst and stuff like that, I can kind of recover a little bit. But yeah, eventually Warlord Knight goes down, other Knight is about to go down, and we call it there.
Alright, versing Aaron from Canberra, and he's got his 9 commanders, some forge-drilled ones in there, and some stealth suits and ghost keels and all that shenanigans. And this table's one of the few ones that don't have a lot of terrain, but it should be an interesting game.
Alrighty, so game 4. Sorry about we're jumping straight into the game and we missed kind of the turn 1. The camera for some reason wasn't working. I managed to get it fixed though, and we're kind of in the middle of turn 2, I believe. A lot's happened. This is kind of Aaron's drop on turn... No, it's actually his drop of his turn 1. So my turn 1, I actually see. So game 1 I didn't see, so I just got first turn. This game was the only game I actually seized on. And it was useful. I mean, it wasn't game winning, but it was definitely useful to get the seize because of where his stealth suits were. I pushed forward, killed one unit of stealth suits. The other stealth suit, he survived with one man. It was craziness. Like, he had a whole bunch of stuff shooting at him. He had in combat with a troop master and 2 void weavers, and he didn't give a shit. Anyway, over here, I managed to kill a unit of stealth suits and 1 commander using the kind of slingshot. I slingshot right to his back and killed one of the commanders. And other than that, just getting good center presence. So I only killed like 5 models on my turn 1, but they got good center presence. So that's what I'm saying. Like it was useful to get turn 1, but it wasn't like, you know, that's what won me the game. His turn 1, he drops in all around the board, which is really good. He does clump up a bunch of his commanders over there near his stealth suits, and that does come into play in a little bit. But other than that, his bottom right-hand corner where there's 2 drones is grey Forge World Commander. That's actually really good, because all you need to do is get some hits with his like 48-inch range guns, and they've got marker lights on them. So Aaron's, Aaron, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. His army has lots of marker lights all throughout. Definitely caused me a bit of trouble. He could actually get hits in, which is definitely useful. And one of the things that he wasn't aware of was the way GW have kind of made re-rolling and negs to hit. So when you are shooting at something, say you need a 3 to hit, right, or a 2 to hit, but you get re-roll 1s, and you also get, say, +1 for some reason, right? Say marker lights. You roll your dices, and whatever you would normally hit on, say you're hitting normally on a 2 or normally on a 3, that stays, even though after modifiers it would miss. You do your re-rolls, and then you do your modifiers. So it's re-rolls first, then modifiers. It's not necessarily counterintuitive, it's just the way that GW went around it. So, you know, things would, you know, if you're hitting on 2s, but then you get, there's a -1, but you get re-roll 1s or something like that because of a single marker light, you would actually miss on that 2 and you wouldn't get to re-roll it. So yeah, other than that, the game went pretty smoothly. I just focused on certain aspects of it. I managed to get my kind of chain reaction happening on turn 2 and cleaned up most of his backfield, and then I just pushed forward back to my side of the table to clean him up.
Alrighty, I'm versing Kirby from 3++, and I didn't notice because he didn't have a little Kirby miniature on.
No, I forgot about that.
And he's playing pretty much an all-rounder Space Marine list with some conscripts. There's Girly Man in the middle. And we've got my Harlequins in one corner. You remember me on this table, was it round 2, I think? And the objectives are there, and over in the corner. Alright. And yeah, big blob of doom.
So as I say in video games, this was the final boss, and I'm versing Kirby from 3++. And I got first turn, but I gave it to him, and because I thought I was defensive enough. I'm deployed kind of in the back corner. He can possibly shoot me with, you know, 2 or 3 things if he kind of steps up on the box. But really, I just wanted him out of his like Protoss ball of doom. So if you play StarCraft and you know that kind of like Protoss ball of doom, it's just this ball where it's really hard to smack into. Harlequins and Eldor were just, in general, you just can't deal with that. You need to kind of pick at the edges, and you can kind of see what I've done here in terms of my deployment. I deploy on both left and right. I'm using my speed and my kind of hit and run tactics, in essence, to pick and choose what and where I fight, as opposed to just going a head-on-head fight. I don't have the firepower, I don't have the resilience or anything like that to just run in there and bash the crap out of things. I need to use shenanigans, so to speak. His turn 1, he manages to kill one of the Void Weavers, which then triggered a Soul Burst, which meant I cast Twilight Pathways on my transport, which went all the way like a slingshot up there. So my turn 1, I could jump out the Psychers and get to his backfield and kill all his Imperial Guard characters. You can see there, so one at a time, just go pop, 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 pop. And still charge with that vehicle, which is also a really cool thing. I kill his assassin and a bunch of other things. So some of those guys, this was a little bit of a weird tale. Some of those guys are on the bottom floor, some on the top floor. It was a bit hard for us to kind of remember. Like we could remember it. It's on camera. It's a bit hard to kind of see if they're kind of lying down or if they're placed weirdly. They're usually on the bottom floor. Whereas if they're they're placed properly, then they're on the top floor. Over here, I make a 12-inch charge, which is definitely lucky. Down to the bottom floor, and because he put his 2 vehicles right next to the wall of the ruins, and because this is how it works, if you get within 1 inch of a vehicle, even if it's on the other side of the wall and you can't see it, doesn't make a difference. So I actually locked both of those vehicles in combat from the other side of the wall, and it reduces, this is one thing about Razorbacks and Land Raiders and things like that, it definitely reduces their firepower immensely. So I was really happy that I got just some of those, combats just to lock it in. I don't care about doing any damage. It's just about reducing the damage, making him, have to move away, which might, so now this one right in the center, like below this middle pillar thing, can be picked off and can be killed. Sorry, I should have said what mission we're playing. Mission 5, 4? I don't know. I'll put the mission up. You'll see. Anyway, this is the main thing. I'm just picking off his support. I'm picking off the Devastators. I'm picking off conscripts, things that can kind of try and lock me in. I'm completely ignoring Guilliman. I don't want to deal with him, and I'm using his vehicles and my positioning to block him in, to kind of limit the crap that he can do. Because whatever Guilliman charges is going to die. I'm trying to prevent Guilliman charging the Ykan for at least 1 turn. By teleporting around, by soul burst movement, by whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So just picking. Eventually, I think this is like turn. It says turn 2. I think it's turn 3. I get in a great position where I can start chaining a whole bunch of stuff. So you can see here, this turn's going to take a while. It's like this guy shoots him, and now he's going to, because he killed it, he's going to soul burst and kill this thing. This guy's going to do the same thing, and so this is where I do the chain reaction. I set it up, I think 2 turns ago, and I just clear out a bunch of his backfield. I've got a couple of vehicles left. What is it? 2, 4, 5 vehicles. That's out of 9, and most of those have got some wounds on them, but they don't degrade, which is really a good thing. Most of my characters are still alive. I think I've only lost 1. Or I've got a couple of them, like down to 1 wound or something like that. A little mistake here, just to finish off the game. He used a reroll on his vehicle to try and kill the Ykan rather than for Guilliman to stand back up, and Guilliman didn't stand back up, which was, I mean, as he said in his post on 3++, it wouldn't have made too much of a difference because even if he got back up, it had like 2 models left, but. Regardless, it was one of the things all you Ultramarines players know. You keep that reroll for Mr. Guilliman. So that's it. So overall, really fun tournament. Best terrain that I've seen in any 8th or even 7th edition tournament. I came first with dropping just 1 point, and really happy with how everything went. Yeah, so definitely recommend going to these Battle in the Bush tournaments run by really good guys. The venue was fine. Nothing to complain about at all, really. And I will see you guys in a few weeks for ATC. And